Well, Professor Lanax was the most critical person today. Because I'm living here now as well in Latvia for quite a while, since 2012. Yes, you brought it on the point, a lot of issues what we have here, but I think with all this clever and modern input, I think we make a step forward. So therefore, I have as well a few questions to yourself. I would like to start with you. Okay, I want to be direct, yeah? So my direct question is, are our politicians incompetent, or are they actively harming the future of Latvia, or indirectly as well the Baltic states? Please.
Es gan runāšu latviski. Tātad par Latvijas izaugsmi saistībā ar inovācijām, zinātni un iespējām, ko dod mums gan nanotehnoloģijas, gan arī rūpnieciskā revolūcija. Tās visas lietas ir savstarpēji saistītas, un es paskatījos statistikas datos par Eiropas mazajām valstīm ilgā laika periodā, un par lielu pārsteigumu un patīkamu pārsteigumu sev. Man jāsaka, ka šīs mazās valstis ir spējušas paaugstināt savu konkurētspēju, un neskatoties uz to, ka šajās valstīs tās augtais mēroga efekts pēc būtības nedarbojas. Šajās valstīs ir maza tirgus ietilpība, līdz ar to komersantiem patstāvīgi nākas rēķināties ar eksportam nepieciešamību. Tas nozīmē konkurēt ar uzņēmumiem lielās valstīs, ar šo lielo valstu iespējams lielākiem uzņēmumiem, ar lielākām iespējām piesaistīt investīcijas un izstrādāt inovatīvus produktus. Bet šīs valstis ir spējušas panākt ļoti labus rezultātus. Un kas šo panākumu pamatā ir augstākā izglītība. Šajās valstīs iedzīvotāji vecumā no 25 līdz 30 gadiem iedzīvotāji īpatsvars ar augstāku izglītību ir augstāks nekā daudzās lielās valstīs Eiropas Savienībā, tā skaitā arī tās saucamās bagātajās, augstāk attīstītās Eiropas Savienības valstīs. Tas nozīmē, ka mūsu attīstība ir saistīta ar izglītību. Vēl jau vairāk. Latvijā ir unikāla pieredze, un arī citās Baltijas valstīs izaugsmes pieredze. Es tā gribētu sacīt, pēc Pirmā pasaules kara tika izveidota Latvijas valsts, tad salīdzinot īsā laikā, tas ir apmēram 20 gadu laikā, Latvija kļuva konkurētspējīga daudzu produktu eksportā uz Rietumu Eiropas valstīm. Un mēs ieņēmām vietas, kuras ir vai nu pirmā pieciniekā vai 7. 8. vietā. Tajā skaitā arī izglītībām. Un atgriežoties mūsdienās un paskatoties, kas notiks ar mūsu valstīm 21. gadsimtā, tad mūsu ceļš neapšaubāmi ir saistīts ar augstākās izglītības atbilstības paaugstināšanu un paplašināšanu. Tas nozīmē, ka mums ir patstāvīgi jāpilnveido sava augstākās izglītības sistēma un jārada apstākļi, lai jaunieši arvien vairāk iegūtu atbilstošu augstāko izglītību. Un pēc tam sekos inovatīvi produkti, pēc tam sekos konkurētspējīgi produkti, un tam visa pamatā ir valsts konkurētspējas palielināšanās.
Okay, but this means as well that we have to give them the best opportunities to, say, doing business. I think to do business here in Latvia is quite difficult, especially for startups, or as well was elaborated, follow-up financing, yeah? And including the banking sector, what is well not very in favor of entrepreneurs, yeah? And so what is, in your opinion, what can be done that the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, including the Nordic countries, working better together to have, say, a common goal in our Nordic environment?
Jautājums ir ļoti plašs, bet es centīšos atbildīgi koncentrēt. Tātad, pirmkārt, zinātnes sadarbība ar uzņēmējiem. Nu, man jāsaka, ka uzņēmumu finansējums zinātniekiem, jeb zinātnei, citiem vārdiem sakot, tas ir uzņēmumu finansējums pēc būtības inovatīviem produktiem, inovatīvām tehnoloģijām un jautājumiem, kas saistīts ar uzņēmēju darbības pilnveidošanu, konkurētspējas paaugstināšanu. Bet tas tiešām ir apkaunojuši zemā līmenī Latvijai. Bet es negribētu vainot komersantus tikai šajā faktā. Domāju, ka vaina jādala uz pusēm, kā arī zinātnieku piedāvājums komersantiem varbūt ir neatbilstošs, jeb šķietami neatbilstošs. Varbūt mēs esam par maz runājuši ar komersantiem, par maz sadarbojušies. Varbūt zinātniekiem ir nepilnīgs priekšstats par to, ko komersanti sagaida no zinātniekiem. Bet domāju, ka iniciatīva tomēr šajā gadījumā pieder komersantiem. Un jo komersanti būs vairāk orientēti uz inovatīviem produktiem, jo šī sadarbība būs daudz efektīvāka un pieprasījums pēc zinātnieku zināšanām un sapratni gan lietišķajās zinātnēs, gan arī sociālās zinātnēs tikai palielināsies. Savukārt sadarbība ar Baltijas valstīm ir nepieciešama, es teiktu, visās jomās, sākot no uzņēmējdarbības, beidzot ar zinātni. Un ko tas mums dos? Tas mums dos jaunas zināšanas. Mēs neizdomāsim divritenis katru savā valstī, bet strādāsim ar tām zināšanām, kas ir iegūtas vienā no Baltijas valstīm, un īpaši lielākā mērā tas attiecas uz zinātniskiem pētījumiem. Mums šodien jābūt daudz atvērtākiem sadarbībai, un konkurence jāuztver nedaudz citādāk nekā to mēs esam darījuši līdz šim. Jo pasaules attīstības scenārijs liecina par to, ka mēs viens pats vai vienatnē nevarēsim pārvarēt tās barjeras, ar kurām šodien mums nāksies saskarties. Mums nāksies kooperēties, sadarboties ne tikai Baltijas valstu līmenī, bet arī pārējo ziemeļu valstu līmenī.
Thank you very much. This is my point of the view as well, and I think even the audience have got a view today that cooperation, I think, is the really key word here in every aspect. It doesn't matter what we discussed beforehand. But this, I think, is as well a very good question as well, maybe for Dr. Sumer as well, to maybe give an answer to the same question what I did to Dr. Lennox. The Nordic, okay. In your opinion, should be the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, including the Nordic countries, work more closely together to develop a combined strategy for the future?
Yeah, okay. Okay, I can say a few words.
Actually, this is a good question for all of you.
No, I can answer. So I think that if we have demanding problems to solve, or as I say, if there is a mission, then we cannot solve it within our country borders. We have in Sweden already worked very closely with Denmark and Norway, and partly also with Baltics. So I do certainly agree that together we can be stronger. We are two small countries, and if we should collaborate, it needs to be a real problem. We cannot collaborate for the sake of collaborating. That is meaningless. So it needs to be some real projects or something that really needs to be solved. So we have real projects that we work together on. And it takes some time to set all these conditions and settle these kind of projects up. But I certainly agree that we can collaborate more if the conditions are right and there is a meaningful project to work on.
Mm-hmm. And where is some imperative for collaboration it's very simple. The market is full today, and the barrier for entering market with any new product is very high. And if you do that in a small single country, then you are a loser, ab initio. So even Baltic states together, which is close to 7 million, it's a tiny cohort actually in world sense, but it's much better starting platform in this sense, since the winning products are no more local, they are today global. And there is no sense to build a product just for one country, so which again brings me back to the general problem of entering the market with not only a good thing, but a thing which carries also other qualities like sustainability, green, etc. Those qualities normally are buzzwords, but when I think about the future and when I think about keeping our resource use on some not sustainable level, but a reasonable level, then the new products must be not only old ideas with new technologies, according to Peter Drucker, but new ideas with new technology. Then it's called innovation. Well, and you need a critical mass of people for doing that, not only entering market, but for doing that.
Mm-hmm. Well, as I can see, Estonia is doing quite well against the Latvian economy, as I can see. So congratulations for that. And the scientific-based, information, what is given to governments, is there any aspect that we can do something different, that they listen to the scientists?
Yes, we can do, and from both sides. One side is, of course, so-called the listening capacity of politicians, which is important, and which has been mentioned actually even by Germany, by President of Leopoldina, Gerald, and it's quite strange because the leader of Germany today is doctor in quantum chemistry, and she understands science, and still they have problems with the listening capacity of politicians. But there is another side which is much more, I would say, we need desperate improvement. This is speaking capacity of scientists. It's a slightly different language what politicians are using, but this is like learning any other language. We have to learn when it's possible to give advice, in which format it must be, in which wording it must be, and having also understanding how the advice could be used. You can say that scientists cannot predict what is being done by their results. That's wrong. We can steer. So it's a first learning capacity of scientists, and to my understanding, it's a overall unwillingness of scientists to talk to government people, which is hindering the process. That's globally so.
So what, in your opinion, should be changed that we can work on that to have a common sense and have like a forum together, just different, where the politicians sitting down there, and we will elaborate something what we would like to have from them, that they actually listen?
Listening doesn't come in a simple way, and it doesn't come in itself. What we started in Estonia, what we are doing now, basically European-wide, we are bringing together top politicians and top scientists, putting them into one room and asking them to talk to each other, to explain what words could be used, what phrases could be used, and what can be done with a message of the other side. A few from here have been at one of those training sessions in Estonia. It is very hard to convene those sessions, because what happens first is that scientists start to attack policymakers. This is the first barrier which should be removed. And this was the hardest thing. So approximately 1 in 6-7 minutes, again an attack was arising, and the convener had to stop the discussion again and again and again, saying, we are not attacking here, we are discussing. So this is again a worldwide problem, that scientists do not understand that science advice must be just one component among many others when political decisions are being taken. And this thing which is explained to policymakers, we have to explain that today also to society. A sort of secret advice to government doesn't make any sense, it can't be used at all. And if we can't explain that to society, then the government can't take the decision, because they are not going to against the will of society. It's that easy. So there are simple things, starting from talking to each other, ministers with academicians, and without attacking each other. It's a hard way to go, a long way to go.
Okay, we have an upheaval work to do. Okay, I want to change a little bit the topics right now. For our friends here, Excellent Ambassador of Uzbekistan, Mr. Sultanov, thank you very much for attending our forum and elaborating on probably cooperations with, of course, all the South Asian countries. And I was very surprised to catch up with Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan to read up how they are doing. And Uzbekistan, with your new president, Mr. Mirchikovic, doing very great job. And I was very positive, surprised what I saw in Tashkent. Okay, the pressing story, because yes, you are the neighbor of Afghanistan. I'm sorry, so this question is coming, I'm sorry. How comfortable are you that this railway, what you have been talking about, what is very important, of course, not for only your country, as well as for Afghanistan, don't get me wrong, for all the partners who are there involved, to open up all that, say, universal market for them. How realistic is it those days that this railway really will be built in these next 10 years?
Well, thank you for your question. Does this work? Yeah. This is indeed a very important question for Uzbekistan. I think I noticed two aspects in your question. Actually, this is one question that covers or asks two questions, actually. And my answer would be that in our approach to connectivity, Afghanistan plays a very prominent role. So the project that I mentioned and the project that prominently featured in the conference that you attended in Tashkent last July specifies and attach actually great importance to Afghanistan's role as a sort of land bridge. And in Uzbekistan's case, it is even more important in terms of our very unique geographical nature, geographical location, because as a doubly landlocked country, we need to diversify to be able to sustain the costs of export, I would say. And our approach here is that, and for far too long, we've been concentrating on, I would say, only the threats or challenges coming out of Afghanistan. And what happened is that a couple of years ago, Uzbekistan actually changed this paradigm. and Uzbekistan started to focus on the opportunities. And that, what I mentioned is that the Afghanistan could play as the role of land bridge. And in this regard, this, for example, for a country like Uzbekistan, this provides a shortest way to actually reach the Pakistani ports. And I have already shared some numbers that helps us actually sustain the, lower the actually costs.
Yeah, it is pretty impressive how the costs are spiraling when a container, for example, costs $5,000 to transfer from A to B, and then you would be able to have, say, the cost of 1,600. This is a huge difference, of course, plus on top the time delay what erases on it. What is the status currently of your application for this GSP plus status for Uzbekistan?
Well, this is actually, I would say, a success story. I'm sure you know that the European Commission already granted Uzbekistan the GSP plus status last April. So, and it, in its statement, the European Commission actually indicated a lot of progress in Uzbekistan. So the granting Uzbekistan a GSP plus status, on the one hand, it's a sort of a testament to the reform efforts and the results of the reform efforts spearheaded by our president. On the other hand, this is a very practical aspect and practical thing that will help us, help Uzbekistan to actually increase our, first of all, interactions with the European Union, and the second of all, to try to increase our exports. And one, I guess, very immediate beneficiary of the GSP plus status is our textile industry. According to our estimates, in the first year of implementation of a GSP plus beneficiary status is around $300 million US. And this can go actually far more beyond that. Beyond that numbers. So this is like as well, say, Latvia is a main exporter for textile machinery into your country to actually not only sell, say, the raw product that you actually as well work on it. Yes, very interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you. Professor Fergerström. As you explained to us these 5 topics, what is very important to address. For us as entrepreneurs, of course, the capital, to come back to the capital question, is very important, and therefore I would like to know how is the banking system approaching in Sweden the entrepreneur, and how easy, say, is it when you start from zero, meaning you have no partner, you can't fill out, say, this form, what they put in front of you, with whom you're working, what is your prospective income, and so forth. Sometimes there's a product, there's something there where the numbers are not there yet. But you get prevented even just to get a basic bank account to start your venture. How is it in Sweden?
Yeah, I will try to explain that or answer that question. Thanks a lot. So I will first explain that in Sweden it's like if you're not in Stockholm, you do not exist. It's pretty much like that. So a problem for everyone that is not in Stockholm, they need to, let's say, set up a temporary office or whatever to be in the Stockholm ecosystem, if you look at the financial aspect at least. If you look at research and universities, they are spread all over. So knowledge is created all over, but if you have a startup and you need capital, then it's much easier. I don't say that it's easy necessarily, but it's much easier if you are in the neighborhood of Stockholm. So that is one problem. It's a kind of structural problem, so to say. And then we have the problem that a lot of companies are actually from Sweden. We have very good innovations from university that just fly away because we do not have capital, as I mentioned, to build production system, etc. It's very hard to get this. I will not say it's not existing, but it's very hard to get manufacturing-related companies, let's say, founded. It's difficult, and especially difficult if they do not have a huge digital content or anything like that. So it's very demanding. So that is why I'm trying to sell that in addition to business development, which is very nice. Normally they get some support with that. You need a very solid manufacturing strategy, including the entire supply chain. And you need that quite early, especially from, if you look at pharmaceutical companies, because they need to take in money even to do the clinical testing. So they are far from production where they need to, let's say, get money.
2 years it takes.
Yeah, it takes several years. So they are in another situation. So it depends a little bit on business, but it's very hard in Sweden as well. And it's difficult if you're not in Stockholm, or more difficult, so to say. So we have our demands that we try to manage.
Okay, so we're not alone.
No, you're not alone.
No, because
certainly not.
In Sweden, what I liked as well, it was very innovative in the time. Say, okay, now we're looking all in electric cars, but Sweden was very far already with the hydrogen-powered cars, like Saab, and you was building a small network of hydrogen, not petrol station, hydrogen stations to fill up your vehicle. And well, I think I find it very interesting, or it was interesting to do so, because a normal engine, actually, all the facilities what we have can run on it. As well, very green in principle. Hydrogen is a green source of energy, and but it didn't kick off in the end of the day. Any comment on that?
No, I certainly agree. And I think in Sweden, another problem is that if you look at the political dimension, is that they try to do a little bit of everything. And they are not pragmatic enough to take one direction. That means that they support a little bit sun power, they support a little bit hydrogen, they support a lot of different things. So nothing becomes really booming in that respect. So that is a kind of problem. So you need to select. You cannot do a little bit of everything. We are too small country. So it becomes fragmented.
Yeah, then it becomes very difficult. Anyway, because, well, I'm on to here and I'm talking, and our guests, is there any questions what is maybe comes from the audience? Please. Anyone? Yes, there is one question. Yes.
Yes, I am from Lithuania. I am also speaker in the next section. And now I would like to ask this audience, what is your opinion about promoting export in Baltic states? Because yes, we are winners when we are talking about export, but when we are talking about economic policy, especially about monetary policy, it so happened that all these new eastern countries of European Union became as producers of intermediate products. We are like we produce some parts of final products, usually. A lot, but not final product in global value chains. And so we never will be winners speaking about capacity, about funds flow. We will be only small producers of small parts. So what is your opinion? How we can make innovation in this economic policy way? What we can do, or maybe no. Maybe we can wait and produce very fast, very fast, most fast, all productivity, we can receive big productivity. But the main result, the main incomes and profit will come for final products. So what is your opinion? It is very interesting for me.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Yes, if I may. That is a relatively simple recipe which we have learned from Finland for Estonia. First of all, it's perfect education, to be best or second best in the world in PISA test. Then to have absolutely perfect world best education, at least in some specialities. And what happened next is that in my institute, the mathematical foundations of Bitcoin were established. Next to my institute, Skype was produced just in our backyard. And basically people who have education from my university are now creating or have already created TransferWise, which is the money transaction
money service provider.
Yes, thank you. So simple recipe, to have fundamental science in some area, very best in the world, to have gymnasium level education in first top 10, to have excellent higher education, and things start to happen.
Thank you. Well, to make a comment on that as well, with the Academy of Sciences, there was a project implemented made in Italy. That is a cornerstone for, say, that young people understand the product, what is produced in their own country. And this is then the opportunity to say made in Latvia. So there is, say, a good trend that young people understands what it means made in Latvia. But I think we have to give them, say, the basics, and we have to help them to develop something in their own directions, maybe as well like a work group or something set up by university for young entrepreneurs who would want to be, say, successful. And I think without any help, say, from the academic side as well, and from the scientists, to develop probably a product what is interesting to sell, it would work. And I think we have to work a little bit on it, what we already understood now, that there is a gap between the entrepreneurs and the scientists. Yeah, because I think to have a brilliant product, what you want to sell, you can have a great idea, but I think you need some specialists as well to give you the right input, how to maybe market it, how to make a research where to market it. Maybe it is not in your country, but it is in a different country, desperately needed. So I think there is room to improve for sure. Thank you very much for the question. Any other questions from the audience, please? Anybody? Maybe somebody from the audience, any questions? Yeah, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have a question for the Estonian colleague. Myself, I'm working in the NGO sector, and I'm working together with the ministries and European Commission. So I have a question. You mentioned that you have scientists talking with the government people, and they were blaming each other. Can you tell me, please, what would be the instrument to make the scientists listen to the government people, and how to make government people actually listen to the scientists, because what scientists are saying is very accurate and very good, and it's perfect on the paper, and it might be perfect in the real life too. But however, you know, life happens, we all are people, we all have our interests. So what is your opinion how to make this communication better? And if you can share what you were actually doing in that example you were mentioning. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this question. This is actually very essential. I would start from a slightly different perspective. The first step is understanding that politicians are not stupid. This is sort of very widely spread understanding that if a person is elected into parliament, then he or she loses half of his or her IQ. No, she or he doesn't. And they are smart enough to ignore advice which is completely useless. This is the second point, what we have to understand. If we have understood that, we can start talking to each other. And starting for a very simple foundation, nobody is wishing to do any evil thing. Everybody is wishing to do the very best thing for his or her country. But there are priorities, there are values, there are coalition agreements. So people are wishing to do slightly different things in a slightly different sequence. And about that we can talk. The second part is that scientists have to understand that they have to express their thoughts in usable manner. What does it mean to have usable formulation? For that you have to talk to top policymakers. You have to just come together into one room to have a lot of coffee, possibly some other drinks, which politically correct I shouldn't say, and talk and talk and talk. Basically to get friends and not to accuse each other, but understanding that everybody is wishing to have the very best for their country, but just slightly different things in a slightly different sequence. And then you can possibly develop understanding. And you can have measure, if you like, indicators. The major result of our events of meeting top policymakers with top scientists was a clear increase in the number of scientists' mobile numbers in smartphones of parliament members, which means much better connectivity. They have somebody to call if necessary.
To ask the question.
It's called connectivity.
To ask the question, the right questions, that they get the right answer. Yeah,
yes, absolutely. And you need not to ask questions. You have to talk to each other. If you express your science in a really interesting manner, the policymakers are deeply interested. And this is for sure.
Okay, we'll cross the fingers on that one. Yeah. So, Mr. Ambassador, because we're at the same topics here, as we have been in Uzbekistan, and there we actually experience that actually there the leadership is listening to the scientists. There is a very high connection between the leadership, the president, and the universities. I have had the honor to visit a few of them, and we have had very good conversations with them, and some agreements are either prepared or signed with Latvia Academy of Sciences, and we are really deeply honored on that. And so how it came that in your country, for example, the president changed his policy, that he is taking the advice from his scientists? Please.
Well, I think in the interest of time, I would not concentrate on the historical aspects of it. And then, first of all, Uzbekistan has a very deep historical, famously, I should say, historical scientific background. I mean, our ancestors were very famous people. Sometimes even some people actually get confused that when we say that this, for example, scientist was our ancestor, and they didn't know that they was Uzbek or hailing from Uzbekistan. So, first of all, we have a very deep historical actual background. That's one. And the second is that I think our president is very much keen in actually some of the aspects that were mentioned by Mr. Sommer, and is that I think how to make the science applicable actually. So, and when it comes to the innovation, creativity, so our president is very much innovation-driven person. So, and one of his first meetings actually after he took the office was he actually invited all the members of the Academy of Science, and immediately right after it, he signed the decree actually in increasing the salaries, and then and that as a result, actually, there was a lot of stimulus to support the scientists. But in the meantime, again, the very hard focus is on the ensuring that the science is applicable, and that's what mentioned by.
Yeah, that they listen and trust, say, the scientists. Yes, I do agree that it is, if it is going too pushy and to force them into listening, then it goes backwards. I do agree on that. On the other hand, the time is often essential. So, you know, there is no time to be lost, so we don't have the luxury, say, to wait for the next 10 years that there comes a politician along and say, look, okay, I would like to listen. So there have to be, in a sense, somewhere from the public or from a movement, from the media, from the press as well, to put somehow a pressure on the system to say, look, we need changes and we need them now. Yeah, as we listened and all these elaborations here, GDP and all these numbers and millions and so forth. The person out there needs a job. And the person out there would like to bring money home to his family. Yeah? And there are entrepreneurs who would like to start a business. So we have to pave or open a way, in a sense, to make it happen for them. So, and after COVID, yeah, where you have bankruptcy, of course it's normal. Somebody started up a business and it was calculated that it would work tomorrow, but tomorrow and the next day everything was closed. So, what is with that person? That person probably have got money from his friends, from the family members. He started the business up and 2 months later he's bankrupt. And he would never get the bank account back that comes on top of it. So what should that person do? It's maybe a really good entrepreneur, but the idea was good, but the timing was bad. But it was not his fault. So what to do with these people? Please, anybody.
I can say a few words. So I think any kind of effort that is related to further develop the competence, of course, and getting into, say, a positive direction, to learning some new experiences. So to sit home and wait is no idea. You can start to reskill yourself if you are in a kind of business that is impossible to run now. Reskill yourself. And of course, this is very difficult. It's not easy what you should do. But you need to take these small steps. And of course, you can engage also in various communities. There is a lot of communities where you can get some support. So do not sit home alone. Engage in the ecosystem, either with communities or where you can learn something new. So you need to reskill yourself, I will say. It's one step.
Thank you very much. So, please.
And a small addition, what scientists should do with this cohort. We always, we have historically tried to convince top policymakers that one or other idea is good. This is a good thing, but times have changed. Much more better way to convince the Prime Minister is to convince his or her electorate. Then he or she will agree with you immediately.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much indeed for everybody. I want to say I thank you for everybody attending and as well to take the time to talk to me, to us, and elaborate a few questions. I think what is really a sense here, what we say can put out of it, we have to come together. We have to come together, we have to be connected, we have to discuss things, and we have to find solutions together, not one country by country. We have to come together with all that countries. And plus on top of it, yes, scientific findings should be published, that it can be used. Scientific findings is very important, as it was as well mentioned in one of the speeches. It can be obsolete tomorrow. Yeah? So it is very important that new findings are there. So when I made it just a small research on, say, research documents, it is actually really hard to get them. So, but anyway, so thank you very much, and I hope that we all learned something out of our forum today, and we have to move on, so thank you very much, and I would like to give back to Dr. Linde, who was, organized this forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear experts. Thank you, dear colleagues.
And of course, one thing, our Bible professor, doctor, she was very brilliant to help us with all the setup here. Thank you.
We just